If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing you're looking to lose fat fast whilst maintaining muscle mass. In this video, I'm going to give you the exact formula that I use for myself and my clients when we're in a fat loss phase to guarantee that we're not losing muscle along the way. Welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan. I'm an ex-NRL player, online coach, and natural bodybuilder. And this channel is all about finding the most efficient way to help you lose fat and build muscle. So as I said, in this video, we're going to be talking about losing fat quickly, but also making sure that we're not losing muscle mass along the way. Now, if you look at research on this, a lot of the times you'll see the number of 500 calorie deficit per day, okay? Now, this is really recommended because it's a good guide. It's going to get you losing fat each and every week, but it's not too aggressive to the point where it potentially might end up in you losing muscle mass along the way. However, I don't think it's very individualized. I look at myself, I'm a 90 kilo individual. And if I look at my fiance, she's 60 kilos. If we went on the same 500 calorie per day deficit, okay, our results would look drastically different. That is why I've come up with this more individualized formula, which is going to give you a bit more of an optimal calorie deficit for the particular individual, okay? So to start off with, we need to establish a baseline. Now, if you look at research, 0.5% rate of loss per week is a really good and conservative starting point, which pretty much shows that it's pretty unlikely that you will lose muscle mass if you're resistance training and if you are eating a high protein diet as well. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to be losing muscle with this 0.5% loss. Now, what is this 0.5% loss? Now, 0.5% of your body weight per week. So if you're an 80 kilo individual, you're looking to lose 400 grams, okay, per week. All right, so this is our baseline. However, this isn't super individualized. We can do a little bit better than this, okay? Now, there's three variables that we're going to talk about, which we can potentially speed up that rate of loss, but also still make sure that we're maintaining muscle mass. Now, the first one is training consistency and also training experience, okay? If you're someone who is quite inconsistent with your training, or potentially you're new to resistance training, or maybe you've had an extended break from resistance training, okay? You can go with a 0.% average, okay? So you can bring that up a little bit. So you can add a 0.% to that rate of loss. So instead of 0.5, we can go to 0.6% rate of loss per week. Main reason for this being is that you're going to be quite sensitive to resistance training. So therefore, the likelihood of you maintaining muscle mass or even potentially building muscle mass during this phase is going to be quite high. So therefore, we can be a little bit more aggressive with that calorie deficit. However, if someone is more consistent and has been consistent over an extended period of time, we just can't guarantee that the likelihood of them losing muscle mass is going to be as certain, okay? So we need to slow down that rate of loss a little bit. Next one is body fat percentage, okay? So the higher your body fat percentage, the less likely you are to lose muscle mass. Main reason for this being is that we just have a larger energy abundance, okay? So there's plenty of energy for your body to pull from, being as though we have a higher body fat percentage. So it's less likely that we're going to be breaking down muscle mass as a means of energy for our daily demands, okay? So for a male, over 20% body fat or a female over 30% body fat, we can actually do a 0.2% increase on our rate of loss, okay? However, if you're someone who is 12 to 20 for a male, 22 to 30 for a female, okay, you probably don't want to have that change, okay? And this is something that you may have to adjust as well as you go through your fat loss phase. As you start to get a little bit leaner, you might want to slow down your rate of loss a little bit, because the likelihood of you losing muscle, especially as you get to those real lean, where it's like sub 12% for males, sub 20% for females, you might even want to go below that 0.5% rate of loss, because the leaner you are, the more risk you are of losing muscle mass in a calorie deficit, especially if you are being aggressive with that calorie deficit. And the last one is lifestyle. Is your lifestyle conducive to being able to lose muscle mass? Okay, so do you have good sleep? Do you have good stress management? Are you able to consistently train 4 or even more days per week with high quality resistance training? Okay, if I have a client that fits these criteria, I know that I can be a little bit more assertive with their calorie deficit, because I know that their lifestyle is conducive for them to be able to maintain and potentially even build muscle through this fat loss phase. Okay, so we want to add a 0.1 percentage there. However, high stress, poor sleep, fewer workouts, I'm not going to be as confident. Okay, we're going to have to slow down that rate of loss a little bit. So let's put this formula together. Okay, so you've got a 0.5% baseline. Okay, so for everyone, you're going to be pretty safe going with a 0.5%. Okay, if we have those other variables in place, okay, and we can pull from those, we can add those percentage points. So let's take an example of a 90 kilo individual who is 20% plus body fat. Okay, and then they're also new to lifting and their lifestyle is completely in check and they can be consistent with their resistance training. Okay, for that particular individual, they could go at a 0.9% loss per week. Okay, so they could be a lot more assertive with their calorie deficit and still be pretty sure that they're not going to lose muscle mass along the way because they have all these other variables in place. Okay, so to calculate that out, give you a bit of a look at what that looks like, guys. For a 90 kilo individual losing 0.9, that is an 810 gram loss per week. Okay, now if you want a calorie number of what this looks like per day, okay, you would times that 0.81 by 1100 calories, okay, which is the amount of calories you would have to be in a deficit to be able to lose a kilo of body weight per week. Okay, that spits you out a calorie deficit that you should adhere to per day, which is 891 calories per day will get you that rate of loss. Okay, so if you're someone who has a maintenance of 3,000 calories and you took that down to 2,100, okay, that would be perfect for that 0.9% rate of loss. And if you had all those variables in place, it's pretty unlikely that you'll be losing muscle mass along the way. However, if we took someone who is a 70 kilo individual, is a lot leaner, okay, so they're 15% body fat, they're experienced lifting, they've been consistently lifting for a long extended period of time, they're a bit high stress at the moment, sleep isn't that great, okay, we probably want to keep them at that 0.5 conservative rate of loss per week. Okay, so again, calculate that up for you guys. 0.5% of 70 kilos is 350 grams per week. You take that 0.35, you times that by 1100 calories. That gives you a calorie deficit per day of 385. So if you're eating 3000 calories to stay at maintenance, you would now be at 2600. And with those different variables, you probably want to be keeping at that rate of loss just because we can't guarantee that you're going to be able to be more assertive and be more aggressive with your calorie deficit and not lose muscle mass because of the variables that we just spoke about. So, final thoughts on this, guys. No matter what calorie deficit you end up calculating, okay, just make sure that you're following these three things. Make sure you're eating high protein, okay? I do say 1.8, but that's at a bare minimum, guys. Majority of my clients and myself, I eat 2.2. Majority of my clients around 2 to 2.2. Okay, there's even a little bit of research suggesting that the leaner you are, so if you're getting closer to that sort of like 10% mark for males or sub 20% for females, okay, you're probably even going to go a little bit higher with your protein intake. So maybe a 2.4 to potentially even a 2.5, okay, if you're super lean. Then also want to make sure with regular resistance training, you should know by now if you're following this channel. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. But if you're not following this channel, regular resistance training is so important, especially if you're trying to maintain muscle mass during a fat loss phase. It's one of the best ways to guarantee that you're going to maintain muscle mass while you're in a fat loss journey. Okay, you need to continually place that demand on the muscle for the muscle to want to stick around. Okay, otherwise, if you don't use it, you will literally lose it, especially in a calorie deficit. Okay, then make sure we're getting those healthy lifestyle practices, good sleep, stress management as well. If you haven't watched my How Does Sleep Affect Fat Loss, definitely go and watch that video. It's on this YouTube. So I definitely will check that out. It is a big eye opener for anyone who is looking to lose a little bit of fat and maintain muscle. Real big eye opener for that. So I definitely suggest going to watch that video there, guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today's episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Do all those good things, like, subscribe, share. And until the next one, I'll see you next one.